This is Barry Zalma speaking for my blog, Zalma on Insurance. Today, a little off from insurance, but still interesting. A blog about why families should never litigate their differences and why a court created a de facto partnership that was implied in fact by a contract that could only exist where there is no express contract. In Ronald Daigneault versus Danielle Kolashuk, the Court of Appeals of Connecticut on March 24, 2026, dealt with Daigneault, who owned and operated an auto repair business for approximately 28 years. And during that period, he and his daughter, the defendant, Danielle Kolashuk, jointly operated the business. Dee's husband owned AutoMagic LLC, the A company, which periodically stored towed vehicles on the business property. Dispute arose regarding the nature of the business relationship between the plaintiff and Dee, the daughter, the use of business accounts, and payment for vehicle storage. Ronald, the plaintiff, initiated an action seeking damages for, among other things, statutory theft and breach of fiduciary duty. Danielle, according to the trial court, used the Superior Auto accounts as her own piggy bank. The trial court, however, found that she, as a joint holder of those accounts and her father's de facto partner, and knowing that her father did so, reasonably believed that she too had the right to do so. The case involved claims of statutory theft under Connecticut law and breach of fiduciary duty, and the trial court was required to determine whether a de facto partnership existed between the plaintiff and Dee, and to resolve issues relating to joint account ownership and alleged oral arguments for vehicle storage. They included 1, whether the trial court properly found the existence of a de facto partnership between the plaintiff and Dee, 2, whether the trial court erred in concluding that joint account holders are joint owners of the account, 3, whether there was an enforceable oral agreement requiring ACO to pay for storage of vehicles on the business property, and 4, whether the trial court's finding justified judgment for the defendants on the plaintiff's claims for statutory theft and breach of fiduciary duty. On appeal, the plaintiff challenged the trial court's finding of a de facto partnership, arguing that the evidence did not support such a conclusion. The appellate court reviewed the record and found ample support for the trial court's determination that a partnership existed, noting the lengthy joint operation of the business and the conduct of the parties. The court emphasized that the finding was not clearly erroneous. The appellate court declined to review several of the plaintiff's additional claims, including the challenge to the trial court's conclusions regarding joint account ownership and the existence of an oral agreement for vehicle storage. With respect to implied in fact contracts, the courts have recognized that whether a contract is styled, express, or implied involves no difference in legal effect, but lies merely in the mode of manifesting assent. A true implied in fact contract can only exist, however, where there is no express one. It is one which is inferred from the conduct of the parties, though not expressed in words. The judgment was therefore affirmed. Ultimately, the appellate court affirmed the trial court's judgment for the defendants on the plaintiff's claims, as well as the judgment for the named defendant on the counterclaim. The court's analysis rested on the sufficiency of the evidence supporting the existence of a de facto partnership and the procedural inadequacies of the plaintiff's briefing on other issues. In my opinion, I learned when I was young by my father, who tried to teach me that it was important to support the family. He tried himself and failed with regard to one family member who insulted him, but otherwise always supported the family. The litigation and relationship in this case teaches what happens when families don't support each other, only to have a court find an implied partnership that resolved the dispute without either party being happy. That's the problem with litigation amongst family members, very similar to litigation between two different insurers. This video was adapted from my blog, Selma on Insurance, which is available free to anyone who clicks on the URL selma.com/blog. You can subscribe to the blog, and if you do, you'll receive notice of every blog posting, usually 5 or 6 a week, and you'll also gain access to the more than 5,300 blog postings. If you're interested in further detail about insurance, insurance claims, insurance law, and insurance fraud, please consider for a very small fee subscribing to my Substack publication. And please tell your friends and colleagues about this blog and the videos so that they too can subscribe. They're free. Thank you for your attention.